Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing? I want to welcome you to the Universal Showroom. If you've been in our Learning Center before, you may notice it looks a little different. I wanted to point out that all of the lighting in our Learning Center is sponsored by Regina Andrew. If you have a chance, go check them out in the IHFC located on floor 1. Their showroom is absolutely stunning this market, so I highly recommend going and checking that out. Before I turn it over to these lovely ladies, I wanted to give you a quick update on what we have going on here at Universal. So we have 2 new collections this market, Montclair located on floor 2, and then Oasis, which is an addition to our Coastal Living branded collection with Coastal Living magazine on floor 3. We also have a ton of new special order upholstery and ready-to-ship upholstery located here on floor 1. We also have a new designers lounge located out in the lobby. It's a dedicated space for designers here in our showroom, so definitely check that out. Now I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, Traci, and Emily to talk about short-term rentals. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Hi, everyone. So I'm super nervous, so be kind. And I had my iPad with all my notes, and I forgot it. So I'm sharing this with you because really what we're talking about today is the pivot. So I'm pivoting. Okay. So my name's Jessica Duce. I'm JDuce Design and Vacation Rental Designers. And we're going to do a little more proper intro. But like you heard, we have Traci Connell, and we have Emily King. And the reason that I have Emily and Traci here with me is because they are literally crucial to my business success in vacation rental design. And I'm not going to be selfish anymore, and I'm going to share them because this is why we are successful, these 2 women. So let's start with Traci. Will you give us your elevator speech? Do you mind?
I thought you were going to introduce me. Hello, everybody. Traci Connell. I see a lot of familiar faces. Lots of Gloss members in here. I'm a designer out of Dallas, Texas. I've had a firm for over 20 years and kind of took my little bit of a pivot and went into business coaching for interior designers, only on the business side, the last 5 years. It's called The Gloss. It's the ultimate glossary of business resources for interior designers. I absolutely love it, but I'm also very involved in the design firm as well. I won't go into accolades. We all know everybody's done all the things.
She's a badass.
We won't get into any of that, but I'm super happy to be here and collaborating with Jessica. Some more education that we'll tell you about in a little bit. So I'm happy to be here with these ladies. Thanks for coming.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily King. I am a co-founder of Data-Led Designs with my identical twin sister, Heather. She had a baby last week, and so I let her stay home. We are data intelligence experts for the short-term rental industry. And so what we do is we provide the information to interior designers and investors, as well as property managers or whoever needs it, to be able to drive strategic investment in short-term rentals. For this audience here, interior designers, that means we make you the experts for whatever market it is that you work in. And then you're able to guide your clients to making the most ROI on their short-term rental. I'm based in Raleigh, and I'm so grateful to be here. Jess invited us here, and Universal invited us here, and this is my first panel ever. So thank you all so much. I'm so excited.
Okay, so let's kick it off with who here has done vacation rental design? All right, and who's making money at it? It's a little less hands. Okay, Peg, you don't count. We work together. Okay, so do y'all understand the difference between residential design and vacation rental design? You think? All right, let's talk about it. All right, so I'm just going to give you my quick bio. I did my first vacation rental in 2015. I'm going to do the quick story. Some of you may have heard it, but I was hired to pick the flooring for a 10,000 square foot beach home. That was my one job. And I got there, and it was a house of sadness. I want to call it the beige house. Everything was literally painted totally tan. It had leather sofas and a horse picture. That's all my PTSD is saved. And it was a beautiful beach house, literally steps from the ocean. So I had to tell this owner, and I knew nothing about, I had to Google what a VRBO was. And I said, I don't think your flooring is the biggest problem. I think it's your beige sadness. I think you should spend the money on your furniture. And he didn't kick me out, he hired me. And that's how I learned to do vacation rental design. And most of the ways I've gotten to become profitable today is because I learned the hard way. So we want to advance the process for you. The biggest difference between residential and vacation rental design is that we start with math. And who here likes math?
I do.
You guys are weird. Okay, so what we have learned the hard way is it is not a house full of cheap stuff. It's a house full of quality, and it really starts with educating your client. So what we have learned also, and bear with me as I adjust to my pivot of phone notes, is that we have to have a team to help us with our vacation rental design. You're going to go in and you're going to say to your client, wow, we're going to make this amazing home and it's going to have this theme and it's great. No, you have to warm them up with your processes, and you're going to sell them a whole package. You're going to sell them a package where it's from soup to nuts, branding. What is your first touch to that potential guest? You're designing for a stranger you've never met. How are you going to do that? Because really, all your owner and investor cares about, to be honest, is making money, return on design. We keep saying return on investment, it's return on design. So that's why we have to have our processes, our branding and marketing, which I wish we had that person here next time, and Emily's data to get us there. So if it's all right, I don't think we remembered to advance any slides. Can I see what we have here? That's all really smart stuff if you want to look at it. I don't remember what it says here, but it is a $64 billion industry. When I did my first rental in 2015, it was not the big B yet. I believe it was like a $100 million industry, and now it's $64 billion. That was in 2015. Today is literally the fastest growing design category in the world, and international conferences across the globe are finally adding design to the category. They're catching up. So as part of the pivot conversation, as I transition to Traci, if you're doing your business the same way today as you did it a year ago, it's time to pivot. Because 1 in 5 people in an influential or higher income bracket that you may want to target, 1 in 5 have a second home or are going to have a second home. So you need to be ready to talk about this revenue stream and how to be profitable at it. But you can't do it until you have someone like Traci teaching you, which she helped me.
The pressure. All right. Should we go to the next slide? I'm going to stand. Oh.
We're going to pivot, and we're going to go to Traci.
All right, let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to come up here so I can cheat. All right, so who in this audience are just, I'm not going to say just residential designers because y'all, you know what that is. How many of you primarily just do residential interior design? A lot of you. Okay. Are you thinking about adding short-term rental or vacation rental design to your offerings? Hands up. Okay, that's why we're here. All right, which is really funny because when I saw the first slide, it said operations, data, and design. And to put me in the operations category is actually hilarious. But honestly, that's what I do. So what I am stressing to the industry, because I did it myself. So after probably 15, 18 years in the industry, sometimes we get bored, right? We do vanilla ice cream every single day, and we're like, okay, I kind of need some chocolate ice cream in my life. And then we try to do a different revenue stream. Or some of the coaching students I have, they start their business, they're in it for 2 to 3 years, then they want to have a storefront, then they want to sell online, they want to go into this, vacation rental design. And what I am stressing to design firm owners is let's get your foundation first. Let's be sure that you have the people, the processes, and profit going in your regular design firm. That's kind of who I'm talking to, before we think about investing into another revenue stream. It's just, I guess, my advice on doing this. So people, we talked about that. People. Does everyone have a role? And this is your regular design firm. People, they make the dream. The team makes the dream. But you have to have it all set up with workflow processes. Everything Jessica talks about, she talked about the pitch going in with the brand and the investment. It's all a process. And like I said, in this industry, so many different things. We all know all the hats we wear. But the processes of repeatable, automated workflows is key, right? And then we go into profit. Jessica asked, who's making money here? Even your residential firm, right? Are we making as much money as we possibly can? Because some of us who've already gone into vacation rental design, guess how we did it? At the end of the year, we're like, oh my gosh, look at my net profit. Wow, there's a chunk there after about everybody's been paid, your salary's been paid. That allows you the freedom to go into something else. And if this is your dream, y'all, you can sleep at night. You can sleep at night. And there's some numbers that go along with this, but I feel like the scalable part, if that is your goal and everybody's different, think about those 3 Ps before we go into it.
Can I just say I tried the process without processes, and I am doing a lot better now with the process. And you don't realize it. You don't even know what you don't know until somebody points it out to you.
Right. Okay, next on the agenda. All right, let's talk about scaling. All right. So I put design freedom because I really feel like, I guess when you get to my stage of the game, it's like you just want a little free time, right? Design freedom. But it's not about doing more. And a lot of times we bring more and more and more onto our plate, but it's really about doing this smarter. I just talked about a repeatable workflow. So if I ask you, do you know every single step of the design process? Do you? Do you know when to pitch your budget? Do you know when to talk about money? Do you know when to collect? Do you know when to order? Do you know when to receive the money that has already shipped? That part, when I see designers, that's when the process falls off the track. You haven't talked about your boundaries. That's the next thing, right? Your profit goes away if you have not clearly talked about, this is the way I structure my business. This is how many reselects we're going to have in this flat fee. This part, y'all, I think is the gold. How do we do that? And Emily's going to talk about data. Time tracking is your friend, I know. Hands up, who likes to track time? Oh, look, I got one in the back. That's fantastic. Yeah, we all hate it, especially if you're flat fee, or if you're doing something even on short-term rentals. You've got to track your time, because if you are going in with a project amount or a flat fee, your goal is to come in 15, 20% under it, because we want to get paid for not the hours that we do, but the knowledge that we have to get it done faster, right? That's what you want to be paid for. And then, y'all, I know it's easy to gloss over your financials. It's not the most fun day to say it. I love the day now when I get to go with my fractional CFO and go over all my reports, because that allows me to make better decisions, right? To go into either, whether you're product design or short-term rental, whatever. It can happen, but it's a way of getting you to scale. Okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get off the floor.
Okay, because we are going to circle back to how we use in our business these 2 women and really talk about how we price, all those good things. But I want you to get the foundation.
Exactly. So how do we do this? How are we going to scale without causing chaos? And it's so interesting. I feel like a lot of us need those step-by-step processes. And so Jessica and I are doing that together. We're coming up with a program. We're spoon feeding you this, because I can say it all day long. Your project management, I don't mean for you to do it. Great thing to outsource, but some of the things we use, Asana, you guys know Monday.com, Asana. Asana is basically, in my firm, a task delegation tool. When you are dealing in short-term rental, also, how many vendors, how many contractors? It's a way to keep you organized and to delegate to other people without telling them. And of course, we're old-fashioned, right? If it's not broken, why fix it? We use Dropbox to house all of our documents. A lot of people use Google Drive. That's great too. All right, money. I could just talk about it.
That's my favorite.
Y'all, okay, business systems, money. Whether using QuickBooks, we use Studio Designer to track it all. Again, when you're dealing with a lot of product, you're in and out of a lot of states. The budgeting on all of this is a whole other. But please know what your cash flow is. The worst thing you can do if you're spending money from different buckets, that you shouldn't be. And that's an easy fix. You're setting up different checking accounts, right? For your product, for your operations, even your sales tax. So think about that. I know cash flow is like a weird thing to me. I don't like mixing all that together. We talked about time tracking, and then really the financial visibility. I don't want you to hide any more from it, and I know it's overwhelming, but really having those templates, the budgeting, the proposal, doing the same thing over and over again and knowing when to do it is going to save your life, right? Then you have confidence, just like Jessica said. I can go in there and convince these investors to eat out of my hand and hire me because that's knowledge, that's clarity. And that's what this is all about. And then your workflow, I mentioned that before. Step by step, y'all, no guessing. Repeatable. It takes a while. It's like a new muscle, but getting this in place, I'm telling you, it'll save you lots of gray hair later. I'll sit down. We got to go on.
I love that. Now, remember, we're going to circle back with kind of an anatomical view of how we use these different sources in our business. But Emily, I would love for you to talk about your process, and you can even go into how we work together at the end.
I would love to do that. I'm going to stand up because I want to be able to see the slides and talk about it. There's a lot of data on the slides, and so, wait, go back. Oh, you're going forward. Okay, thank you. So as interior designers, you're probably wondering why data. And so data is the thing that validates your choices and your wants to an investor. Investor's not going to want to hear, oh, I think this is going to look great. Okay, well, show me the numbers that is going to look great. And so we want you to lead with facts over feelings to talk about how your design can elevate a rental to be what we're calling a luxury design that's targeting this aspiring luxury traveler that essentially economy proofs all kinds of different rentals. So next slide, thank you. Okay, and so when we talk about data, we're literally talking about thousands of different data points. And so these different data points are things that come from Airbnb itself. And so we've developed a proprietary AI software that goes through Airbnb and takes thousands of reviews, and then we analyze it. And we understand, what do travelers want? What are they saying in their reviews that are their pain points? And how do we, as designers, take that information to make a very experientially focused design that then allows us to walk through the space mentally and physically to design for the lack of friction for our guests. Because what that does is it leads to these 5-star glowing reviews that you cannot pay for. And so that's the thing. Go ahead.
Well, I was just say, unfortunately, it doesn't show all the way through. So if you can kind of explain what they see there, because I hate math, but I love her reports.
Well, my report is a little blurry right here. My apologies for that. There's two very important data platforms within the Airbnb short-term rental space. It's called AirDNA and then STR Insights. And what they do is they provide us this raw spreadsheet of information that tells us how much a 1, 2, 3 bedroom makes in this market, and the link for it, what their amenities are. And what we do is we go through that data, we clean it up to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples. And what that means is essentially people who are intending to be full-time hosts opposed to people who just want to rent their house on the weekend. It's not the same kind of person. They're approaching it very differently. And so what we do is we give that information to Jess or whoever, the investor, and we go through it very diligently, and we share that in this particular market. So this is Gatlinburg. This is the Great Smoky Mountains. It's one of the most visited national parks. I think it's 13 million people a year go through Gatlinburg. And so there's a major tourism hub. There's 15,000 Airbnbs in this market. And so it's a lot of data to go through. And so what we're doing is we're telling you exactly the amenities that are going to make you the most ROI year over year, and the exact data that tells you that. So like a hot tub. You're like, oh, hot tub's great. It's going to be fun. Okay, well, that hot tub is going to earn you $8,000 every year, year over year. And so that $5,000 to $15,000 investment, you'll make it back within the first year. And so this is the kind of language and conversation that you get to have with your investors that then lead you, number one, to bigger budgets, right? And then to validate your decision-making for all the things that you want to put into your rental. So, so to the point that I just made, you're a designer, what does it matter?
Is this the data you used for our Gatlinburg project?
Yeah.
Okay, see? And because of her data, I'm sorry I'm interrupting
jump
you.
in, I want to know what happens.
We were presented with the opportunity to do, we as in Peg right there, were presented with the opportunity to do a one-bedroom cottage. And we told her that we needed to do this data report to understand the market. And because of Emily's report, that has grown into a relationship with a property management company that has 250 rentals that we will work through over the next couple years. Because we were able to show that we had data to prove what we were doing and how to pivot.
Right. The best indicator of future performance is historical performance. So you walk into these meetings with data that shows over the last 3 years, this is what the trend has been. This is how the market is growing 5% every year, year over year. And this is how I think that you can stand out from the crowd. And really, we're talking about the top 10% of earners. We're not looking for you guys to be average. We want you to be exceptional because you are going to then economy proof your rental, because what you are doing is you are pulling one of two levers. There's only two ways to make more money in the short-term rental industry, and it's occupancy, which is essentially the weather. You cannot control occupancy at all. And then the other is design. And then when you pull the lever of design and you have a nicer rental and you have things that make your place a destination itself. You have the hot tub or the pool table or the beautiful view or whatever it is. You set it up to be a romantic one bedroom. Then what happens is you also pull occupancy because more people are going to want to stay there. So the luxury rentals are gaining between 15 and 25% more occupancy and like 3 times higher rate for your average nightly rate, your ADR. So essentially, with better design, you are increasing occupancy and revenue for your client on a regular basis.
And you can say that all day long to the people that you want to work with. Look, if we make it pretty and amazing, you'll make more money. All they hear is the statistics she just said.
If you don't mind just going back one. Okay, so here's a real case study. I'm sorry that my image isn't working here. It's not my fault. Okay, thank you.
Pivot.
It's the internet. So we worked with Jess for this project in Bandon, Oregon. Bandon, Oregon has one of the most popular links golf courses in the United States. And so it is a destination for group golf vacationers.
Congratulations on your remodel.
So what we did is we dove into this persona, and the persona is essentially when you design for a short-term rental, you skip the client's wants and needs, and you focus on who's traveling there. And so the people who are traveling to Bandon are group golf vacationers. And so we did a deep dive on what does this group of people want? What are they looking for? What do they love? What do they hate? And then we pulled this image here that you can't see is actually a very detailed itinerary of what their day looks like. They get up very early to go play golf. They want to come back. They want to drink. They want to hang out together. And what we did is we provided this information to Jess to then go into a new build design and make it targeted and built specifically for this persona so that they come in and they're like, oh my God, this was built for me. I love this place. Yeah, Jess, can you share with us how this rental is doing and like what happened when you took our data and you used it for this client?
Yes, I will. I'm not going to stand up. Can everybody see me? Okay, because I want to sit. Okay, so this is a great project. Thank you for bringing it up. And I used both of these women, again, on this project. And because of Traci's program, it helped me with pricing. I want to make sure we understand how we all work together. And processes, which Peg has been begging me for 2 years. But with your data, So I'm not a golfer. I know it's a white ball thing and you hit it with a stick. And when we got this project, her data completely changed what we were going to do. My initial idea was, the theme was, if James Bond was retired and wanted to play golf, we're going to design it to look like him. And because of her data, we changed it because it showed that more couples are going to this golf course than we would have ever calculated. I just assume it's golf, cold, snow, cold, whatever they do, it's a bunch of guys. No, it's a lot of couples. So we actually refined our design. Jeremy's laughing at me. And we actually added amenities that would never have occurred to me since I don't play that. I needed to add golf shoe dryers, glove dry, whatever all those things are you do with golf. They needed dryers, okay? And we needed a golf simulator room. We needed all these things because we learned that from her report. In summary, to answer your question, the owner went with all of our suggestions, fell in love with all the data, we changed the program, we elevated the budget. The retail ticket for furnishings in this project was $586,000. The retail ticket. That's pretty good, right? We started at 300. Because of the data and the market and our processes, we elevated the project significantly. So the project went live, and they did $300,000 in bookings. That doesn't mean $300,000 in guest rentals in a few weeks. But within the first month, they booked $300,000 in bookings for the next year.
Can I add to that for a second, Jess?
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. Yeah.
One of the things that data, and I'm sure that you have used in your process for this, is it is a FOMO driver. Like, people are looking at the numbers that you're showing them. You're like, oh, if you make a luxury rental, you could potentially make this number, this much money. And they're like, oh, really? Really? And so it helps you to push your budget farther because they see the potential for revenue every year. And so it's not just this year, it's not just this project, it's every year for them. And it's a great tool to be able to just validate what it is that you feel like needs to be done within the rental.
I want to jump in and just ask a question that I think a lot of people are asking. I may be ahead of myself. So I'm big on data drives decisions. Really, there's no other way, right? So if I was a residential designer and myself have gone into like the investment side of short-term rentals and Airbnb, but I hesitate. Is this going to be a good area, et cetera? So how do designers work with you? Like, how does that, what does that cost? I'm not going to hold you to that. How does it work? Is it a percentage? Is it just a flat fee? How does that work?
It's a flat fee.
Okay.
And what we do is we will deep dive into whatever market it is that you say within the continental United States. And we take about a week to 2 weeks, depending on our bandwidth, to be able to provide you with a 40-page report that goes through every little detail that you would need to know about how to be an expert in this market, how to elevate the design, what amenities to put in, the language to use, what your competition looks like, who are the top performers, what are they doing really well. And honestly, for Airbnbs, it's only half design, and then it's half host communication. Because so many people hate when the host does not communicate at all, or they're bad at it. So it's like, I can't control that. I can control the other aspects of it. And so essentially, we will then have an hour to an hour and a half call with you, and we make you the expert, and then you go forth and design.
Just the confidence you get from this is really incredible. Yeah.
I have to add a little disclaimer, and I will get to you in just a second. Those bookings that I just mentioned for this property, all the zeros, this is another pivot that I want to give to you. That is not just guest rentals. So because of the luxury vibe of this property, it's out for photo shoots. It's out for people looking for day opportunities for, we have a couple that booked it just to shoot for their engagement photos. So when you think about this, your design elevation in these rentals, yes, we're designing for your guest, your avatar, which Emily helps us create, but you're also, because you've created this amazing experience in the rental, you're designing for so many other opportunities. And that's also part of what you're selling to your potential investor or owner. So think about that. In a residential project, which we all love doing, right? You're creating this beautiful space, and they love it. You take photos, maybe it'll get published. The neighbor comes over, everybody's like, great job, Nancy, we love your living room. And you have those photos for your content. When you do a vacation rental, you kind of have the same experience. You didn't really care about Nancy's favorite purple chair or incorporating the family photos. You just made this beautiful thing, and you have these images. And those go on to hopefully maybe be published. But they're going to be used online. Every brand that you may have used in the rental, they're going to want some of that social media gold, right? So it's going to live on those platforms. And every guest that comes and says, wow, this is amazing, I love it here, and takes pictures, and they live on other platforms, and people are sharing. And then your owner investor has a whole nother revenue stream, like this Bandon project, where people want to come there and just take pictures and not mess up the beds for housekeeping. So when we talk about this as an additional revenue stream, it just goes on and on. You just keep feeding the monster. And I think that's part of the reason I love it. It's so exciting. So I had to share that. So you had a question.
Yeah, actually, two-pronged question. So we get some requests for people who have vacation homes that they use themselves, but then when they're not there, they want to VRBO that. So how do you approach that? Because it may not be as data-driven. We have to consider some preferences that they would have because they're actually going to be utilizing it themselves versus just strangers. First question. Then second, historically, people have this perception of like, if it's not a full-time investment, I don't want to spend a ton of money. And we probably have all gotten the calls, like, just get everything from Wayfair, and then you like crawl into your hole and want to cry. So are there any specific vendors that you would recommend using for short-term?
I'm going to totally forget the first question, so you can come back to that. The second question I remember, it was, basically we all have this problem if you've tried this or you hear this. I want to do it on the cheap, and I really want to fill the house with Wayfair. How do I have that conversation? Was that the second question?
Yeah, that is, but like, do you have any specific vendors that you would
Okay.
recommend that's like, this is my go-to for case goods, or this is my go-to
Sure.
for beds or whatever?
How many do you have? Like 50? How many do you have?
Maybe just top 5.
Okay.
Membership?
So, first of all, I'm really glad you asked that question, because that is literally why these two are here, because that is the question every designer is going to get asked. But we've done our homework. So before or during, when they're asking that question, we've had the data to say, this is really where your budget needs to be. Most owners, investors don't know what their budget number should be. I'm sure you deal with that with residential design. They're like, oh, I want to do my living room. I think, I have $5,000. Okay. No, that's not going to work. We're educating them. They don't know. It's the same in STR, and that's why you're doing the data. So you're going to be able to say, you literally only have one tool in your toolbox. Emily calls it the lever. My spiel is, you're in this area, and everybody's got the same amenities locally. You've got the same view, maybe. You're all on the same street. Everything's the same. Literally, the only tool left in your toolbox to make you different is design. And so when we present that data and say, here's where you need to spend the money to be competitive, that helps with the Wayfair conversation. The second part is I won't budge. I'll say, well, here's what you need to do now to make the biggest dent, to hope for the biggest improvement in your return on investment, and we can phase it out, because we're not going to give in. We're not going to fill your house with Wayfair. We're going to say, here's where we think you should spend the money, and what's your timeline to do the rest. Does that make sense? I know that sounds like it's so easy, but what I have learned is that if I push back, then that client is either the right fit or they're not, and there's plenty more to go. I know that sounds so easy, but I've learned the hard way, and it really does work.
Can I add to that? So when you fill for a rental, just know that the people who are going in there, who are renting the place for the 3 to 5 days that they're there, they don't care. So what you need as the designer to do is say, this investment in this couch with the performance fabric is going to save your couch for years. So then you don't have to replace the fabric. You don't have to take more pictures. You don't have to have a different couch in there, because now Airbnb is saying if the house doesn't look like what the pictures look like, you can get a refund. And so there's like all of these little things that, like, investing in something that's a quality item, especially for the bigger items, it will lead to greater level of success in the rental for a lot of like different kinds of touch points. So like those are the things that I would say is like suggesting to do something that's an investment, so then you don't have to invest in all of these other places.
Well, you know, we say that in residential design every single day, right? We are here for when the damages happen, the concierge service, but if you want to buy from Wayfair, we are out. Yeah. And unfortunately, bringing that
Band
up during
together.
during a sales pitch is not great. But again, your business, you decide, or you do something like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever done that. Here's the plan, here's the list, knock yourself out and do it yourself. I mean, because the time and effort it would take just to manage all of that, I think you would lose money.
Yeah. I know you also asked about brands. I would be remiss to say, and this is honestly, we use them, Universal Furniture. They're a big partner for us. There's a reason that we're here. I'm going to just keep plugging you for a second. As a designer, here's a big reason why I love Universal Furniture. They have figured out the shipping for me. And your projects are everywhere. We have a knack of getting projects where we don't live. So we are always traveling. We rely heavily on drop shipping or finding a storage unit or a receiver in a really weird area, and we don't want to deal with all the logistics. And Universal takes care of all of that for you and rolls it into the price. And they have a great discount. I would also be remiss to say that we have the Vacation Rental Designers Collective, which is on your seats. And they are one of our brand partners, as well as Data-Led, as well as Traci Connell. And you have elevated discounts in our community just for being in the community with these, as well as Jeremy sitting right here with Ballerina Kitchen, and Tedesco Rosa right there. We are cultivating a community of brands that want to just understand and work with us in this niche design. So the other ones, will I get in trouble if I say other brands? Okay. So the other brands I work with are Four Hands, Classic Home. I love Eastern Accents Bedding. I love Fazy Rugs. I love Unique Loom, Regina Andrew. These are all brands that we have vetted because they understand us and want to work with us. And I really don't remember your first question. I'm so sorry. What was it?
I
Do you remember?
I think it was a balance between
Yeah.
investing
She's
and
data.
designing for the visitor and yourself.
Yeah, so what you could do is you could do like a hybrid situation, like certainly take the client's wants and needs in mind, but then you can offer them an alternative plan. So like if you want to take two different paths, you say you keep what you have and then you add something to it, but if you want to have this pay for itself, or however you would like to phrase that conversation and create the perspective on it, this is what you should add to make this rental be, to Jess's point, different than all of the other ones on the street, and I can do this through X, Y, and Z. And so it just allows them to see what's possible, because if they're not sure that they want to do it, they have no idea what the possibility is of their rental, because some of these rentals make obscene amounts of money. $300,000 in a month? Oh my goodness.
Well,
For
I
bookings.
really feel like I have to, we're not that amazing, okay? It was over the course of, that's like extended bookings, okay?
Yeah.
And like some people are gonna get married there. Golf's really a thing. But, you know, and then there's their photo shoots and things like that. But to the owner investor, they don't care. That's just dollars. Like, how exciting is that?
And one final question, are your rates on par with residential? Is there any difference there?
I'm so glad you asked that. So let's talk about how we price. And that was a big topic in the panel we had earlier this morning. And again, this is a big reason why you need a Traci in your life, okay? So we actually do it as a combo. In residential, you typically have a flat fee, or a lot of people. Some people
Design fee,
hourly,
right.
design fee, whatever. And what we have learned that works for us in vacation rental design is we have a fee to work with us, a design fee, a retainer, whatever you want to call that. And then we charge in blocks of time. And I'm going to get some eye rolls, and I want to explain to you the logic behind that. And this is what has worked for our business. The reason why we do blocks of time after we've taken the design fee to work with us is because what we have found is that all of our vacation rental clients have a primary home. And so what we would find is that they would ask us questions. Well, this is looking good, but can you just take a look at my bathroom really quick? Or we have this. So we changed our language, and we said, when you buy a block of time, you can ask us any design question you want. It doesn't matter, it's just time. So if you have more than one rental, or if you ever want to ask us about your personal home, feel free to do that because it's just time. And that has literally fed our business. Our residential clients feed our business to vacation rental business and vice versa because they're not intimidated to ask us design questions. We literally just tracking time, which they tend to run out of, and then we need more time. And that is our model, to be really frank. We're word of mouth. I'm really proud to say that we're booked until mid-2026 because these clients that have second homes, have primary homes, we had to make a rule that we will only do your residential project if you are a past or current vacation rental design client. They're not afraid to ask us design questions. We get to know them, we get to know their style, and it keeps feeding the monster. So for us, that would be my biggest suggestion for you to consider for your pricing.
I know that goes into my whole receiving and all of that. So I'm looking at the profit, right? So I know we brought this up, I don't know, maybe it was 1.5 years ago. So on the receiving side, that's the part where I feel like sometimes it gets a little muddy with the project management. So that in residential design, it typically goes to a receiver and they handle everything and then it's install day. Well, if you are in Omaha, like out in wherever in the boons, sometimes they don't have that
I used to live
luxury.
there.
So I would 100% check with every single vendor. Does the box need to be opened within 24 hours and damage is noted? If that's not the case and it's damaged, guess who pays for it? Sometimes it's you. So that's why I'm really big on the pricing of the product because I look at that as insurance. If something goes wrong and you are stuck holding that bag, then your markup pays for that. So that's why I say never feel guilty about marking up any product. But I think back to processes, Jessica has boots on the ground in every single area. And it's up to her to create that process so that freight box, whatever it is inspected within the time of the manufacturer. And sometimes if you just don't know, then you get burnt. I mean, damages are a thing.
Damages are a big thing, and I'm going to get an eye roll here in a second. I use storage units in really remote areas, and I don't have a receiver. If anybody wants to know how I do that. You have a question?
I do. You said you have your booked until next year.
Yeah, I'm going to walk to you.
Time is money. And so if you're not available, like I've lost clients because I'm booked for the next multiple months. So how do you handle explaining to them or the wait, because time is money for them and they can't have the house sitting on the market without being.
So the question is, how do you handle if you're not able to take the project right now? How do you not really lose that client, right? Well, vacation rentals are a little different because we have to work in between bookings. So that's one way to have that say, okay, we're going to need X amount of time. Where in your calendar does that work? And another way we handle that question in full disclosure is in that vacation rental designer community that we have a interactive map on the website, and it's every member is a designer on that map, shows where people are. So if we're not able to take a project, we pass it on to another designer in the collective, which makes sense, right? Because we're all trying to do rising tides. But we do really try to manipulate the conversation, to be frank, about let's look in your calendar of when it would be best for both of us to work together. We can give you some updates temporarily, but for what we're going to need to do, we need a bigger block of time.
So when they already have it up and running. But if it's just getting started, then that's when you would probably have to pass it on.
Yeah, if it's a new project and we couldn't take it, we'd have to pass it on to one of our members. Yeah.
What about hiring more people?
See, this is why we need Traci.
Hello? Sounds like there's a need here.
Honest to God, you guys, I mean, there is a really strong need for vacation rental designers that know what they're talking about. How many people, say they're a designer because they have a really great Pinterest board? It's the same thing in vacation rental design. So if you're able to give the data, have the information, have the processes, have an Emily, you immediately blow it all out of the water when you come talking to them. They need you. There's a lot of ugly houses out there that we all need to work together to improve.
And do you have a question?
My question is about processes. So, for the data, do you invest in that before you pitch to the client your design fee? Is that part of your, potential client budget, or do you tie it in after you start working with a client?
That's a great question. If you guys couldn't hear that, couldn't hear that, that's a great question. So I actually present Emily as part of our team. So when we do these reports, my logo is on the report, not Emily's. Sorry, Emily. But if you were to talk to us or look at our website, what you're going to see is her as part of our team, and it's from the beginning. So our fee, how we work, is all structured, and then we order the report once they've paid, and then we have an onboarding call. Peg is right there. In case anybody wants to talk to somebody smarter than me, Peg will be here too afterward. But at the onboarding call, we actually go through the report, talk about our team. We mention Emily. We've talked about our processes. I'm not going to lie, mentioned Traci to make myself sound really cool to clients. And she's our operations. But it's all part of the process. They don't need to know. They technically are my team, right? I just pay for their services. But she's rolled into the price, to answer your question.
I would say that we offer that to people as well. It's like if you don't feel like you're confident enough to pitch numbers, we can help you with that. So I am essentially head of marketing. I'm a marketing expert. But my sister Heather is a data intelligence expert. It sounds so important and very cool. But we can be on the call with you to support the information conversation, so then it looks like you're the one that has made the decision to bring on intelligence experts, and like, what does that say about you? Like, you're clearly the expert in this field, and I should really be listening to you.
So I am absolutely loving your question, because in the process, I teach what's called a pitch deck. So when you are in front of that potential investor or client for the first time, you are going through your pitch and you are showing your process. So you would have the mock data report, right? All the things that you're going to offer down to, it doesn't matter, but show them everything you're going to do. Tell them everything down to, covering the damages and everything. Now, make it about 10 minutes or 12 minutes, but that's just going to put you over and above. Look at her pitch. Like, if they don't know what they don't know, and they can go on your website and they can peruse, but if they don't get to the bottom of the page, but you in front of them, and I always emphasize not to send the pitch. Don't email the pitch. You can do maybe a Loom video if they cannot, or I do it over Zoom constantly, but I think it's really important what they've talked about, including that this is part of my service. That makes you different than all the other people pitching to them too.
I love that, because this isn't residential design. Your owner, investor, property manager, they don't want you to hold their hand while they pick out the perfect robin's egg blue on their chair. You are being hired to make their life easier, to get this business online, and to make them money. That's why you're there. Did you have a question?
Can you talk a little bit about your processes as far as like getting stuff to remote locations, one, and then like boots on the ground?
I'm scaring them.
We get requests sometimes where we don't have any team members. So like, how do you get measurements and that whole process?
Winner of great questions in row one. All right. There is so much to that, and that could be a whole nother event. And I just have to plug really quick, I think it's on the chair. We are doing a free webinar, and we're going to go into more detail. And I only say that because literally we could spend hours talking about that. So I'm going to give you the Cliff's Notes. Some design firms out there that do what I do, part of their process is that they do the design package and then they outsource the install. I use that as a selling feature of why they should hire us instead. I say our team designs it, flies in, and installs it. And why would you want absolute strangers in your home after you've been working with these other people designing it? So I use that to my advantage. The second thing I do, which Traci, plug your ears. In remote areas, I may be a little scrappy, a little cheap sometimes. Receivers drive me insane. So I actually have storage units that I randomly pay for off and on throughout the United States. And I send my deliveries there. And I look for the storage, it kind of sounds cheesy, but I look for the storage units that also carry wine because they seem to be a more elevated storage unit place. And they will receive all of my deliveries. Kayla, don't listen either. And they act as my receiver because these storage units have a loading dock. And that is the requirement of a receiver. So they don't inspect, but they love wine or chocolates or whatever. This is true. I really do this, and I did it for Bandon, Oregon. So I target these storage units. All of my deliveries go there. They are put into my storage unit, and we fly in and we do our install. And for me, the amount of money I save, which is thousands of dollars a month, offsets that risk of damage of an item. So that's my secret sauce. Sorry.
Can I mention one thing that I feel like, Jess, that we haven't talked about yet?
Do.
When we speak to the processes that Traci is talking about, and if you're working with individuals who are investors, they want to get live as soon as freaking possible. They're like, okay, in a month? You can be ready in a month? 2 months. So, okay. So your goal as the designer is you have to have these streamlined processes in place with a team of people that will help make these decisions, and then with brands that you know work, because it needs to be there in 4 weeks, because they need to start making money. And they're not just doing the design, and they're not just opening an Airbnb. They're learning all the software platforms. They're talking about regulations. They are talking about marketing. They're trying to learn what the rules are for Airbnb, because you could get kicked off, and that's terrifying. So I think that what your role is as an interior designer is you are their guide on their hero's journey to be the best host that they can be. And so if you come in with a strategic plan using data and vendors that support you, then you look like the expert. And they're not just looking for one, because if you aren't listening to STR podcasts everywhere, it's about more. You need more in different markets. So their first one is their first one, and they're thinking about their next 30 doors. So think about how you can create that relationship with them to show your value, and then it just amplifies immensely.
We have a question?
Yes, I was wondering if, as part of your team and your package that you put together regarding services, if you have somebody who photographs these rental spaces and helps with the description and uploading on an Airbnb site.
Great question. So we actually, when I talked about us being soup to nuts, that's part of our package. And everything is a markup, don't forget, because we're simplifying their life. So yes, we bring in the photographer, we bring in the videographer. That's all of our package. Lissa back here, she can help them onboard. We have marketing services with Erica Surratt. She looks like she's part of our team. She's an amazing marketer. She does all of their branding. We do the website design. We help them onboard. We can do their listing. We actually create their email messages on how they should do the guest experience. And the way we sell it is we say every touch needs to be a part of your brand, and that's our expertise, and that's why we're making this an easy button for you. And can I give one more tip about photography and videography? On the last project we did, Bandon, which I worked with both of these ladies, we actually took a risk. And we flew in a videographer and a photographer from North Carolina, High Point, North Carolina, Johnny Davis Digital, all the way to Bandon, Oregon. And before that, we went to the brands that were in the house. And we said, we're going to do this amazing photography and videography. And if you want some of this social media gold, would you like to chip in on this videography and photography? And we broke it up into chunks. Literally, like, this brand had 50% of the house. This brand had 20% of the house. And we broke it up into the costs of the videography and photography and had them pay for all of it with us. And then they would have social media assets. We had social media assets. And it wasn't as big of a bite. And that was the first time I did that, and that is now part of my plan moving forward.
I've seen it done by rooms as well, right? Yeah. Like each brand might have a space.
So I just had a question. Do you guys have any advice for design and build if you're the builder and the designer and like we're just getting investors? Does that make sense?
You mean that
Tracy's done that.
that you
Like we're a design build company.
right?
We want to go find properties,
Yep.
renovate them, rent them out.
Yep.
So we're really just looking for investors more so than.
To go in with you on the cost of the build? Okay, yes. So that's the first way that I did it, design, build, and then rent out. Didn't really have outside investors. However, I'm working with some builders out of Dallas who are doing the same thing. So they're building spec homes and need investors, right? So I'm investing in that. I think getting people involved, more people involved, sometimes can complicate things. I would have just a rock solid, I would work with an attorney first to help you really structure this.
Would you recommend just like the way we've been doing it is starting tiny and with any, profit, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. So any profit we're making, we're just putting into the next one instead of going into investors. We just didn't know if we should to be like a multi-unit area, something like that if we needed investors.
I don't see why not. I think the investors, I mean, you're talking about a silent partner, right? Yeah, that's what they came to me for. I don't think it's a bad idea because it's another way, right, to invest in alternative streams of revenue. And as a designer, we're looking for different ways. I think, I don't mind you, Johnny, I think that's a good idea.
There are a ton of people who are looking to invest in short-term rentals as a proxy. So like, yes, and then if you guys are looking to build, there's two different ways to think about it. So unique stays is one of the most filtered categories on Airbnb. And so it's like yurts or Airstreams, exactly. And then it's also groups. 80% of people who travel on Airbnb travel in a group. So being able to accommodate large groups is key. And so if you're building, I would suggest, talk to me later, that you have information that guides that you're gonna make ROI, the most ROI for whatever your investment is based on the market and what it says it needs. So, yes.
And having that documentation, because that's what I had to go off of. What is my expected return based on my investment? So having that knowledge should probably help you with that.
I would follow Rent Responsibly because investors go on there looking for information, and that's a great way for you to connect. And VRMA has a portal, and those are great sources. We have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, any suggestions on how to find out who owns the rentals? You know, if you live in an area with a lot of rentals.
Is that an Emily question?
Go to Airbnb, look at all the bad rentals, and then reach out to them.
Well, how does she reach them? Isn't it kind of hard to find the owner name?
Did you just do contact owner?
Yeah, you can
we
contact
could
the
spend-
owner. You can just
Okay.
message them. Or ones that are trying to put themselves out there on social media, just DM them on Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for saying that. How many people here have stayed in an Airbnb? Right? How many of you have had a bad experience?
Oh, no.
How many of you have left a bad review? What the heck? Leave bad reviews. It's not going to hurt your next stay. Nobody's going to say anything bad about you. The only way we're going to elevate all these freaking ugly Airbnbs is if we leave bad reviews and tell them what they're doing wrong. That drives me crazy. Yes. Okay, really quick, since we're doing the Vacation Rental Design Summit in June. If anybody knows who Jane Dagmy is, right there, my soulmate. How many here have had a bad experience at a Airbnb in High Point? What? Our air conditioning went out yesterday. Come on. No,
Couldn't
that's
get
it?
in at midnight on Thursday.
Yeah, okay. Well, at the Vacation Rental Design Summit this June, we're going to be talking about everything we talked about here today. Traci and Emily are going to be there, and we're going to go into this in detail. But I do have to say, please leave bad reviews. Do we have any other questions? Because I know we're technically out of time. Can we go a few more minutes? Okay, I'll be right back.
Hey, Jess. I'm wondering what the difference is in your process. Like, do you do conceptual design, presentations, or are you basically presenting this is the data, this is what we think you need to do, and then you're pretty much given turnkey access to just go with where the client's concerned? Oh, okay.
Well, we're kind of cultivating this relationship from the beginning. So we've got our processes that Traci's helped us with, and we've done our onboarding call, and we have our data. And then we've talked to them, and we've kind of massaged the relationship for going forward. And then we do a mood board to show them the direction that we're going to go in, make sure we're kind of all on the same page. And then we offer full service install. So we give them, we're not doing fancy renderings unless we have to. We're giving them an overall look. For residential clients, they want the fancy renderings, but your short-term rental clients, they really don't need that unless they ask. Did that make sense or help? Okay. I saw one here.
Quick question for Emily. Can you apply your data processes for international locations?
Not yet. Sorry.
Coming
Sorry.
soon? Coming soon?
I don't know. So that's where my sister Heather would be invaluable to that asset. What it really comes down to is whether or not the places that we pull data from are getting data in those areas, because they are spending millions of dollars to build these platforms that pull data from these places. And so then we're just paying the subscription fee, which is expensive, to get it every month, and then we clean it. So it's like whether or not they are able to get that information, and if they are, we certainly can do that. Does that help? Yeah, okay.
Was there any other questions? Okay. And then we got to go, right? Okay.
Okay, we've spent a lot of years figuring out your residential cadence for marketing to residential clients. What do you alter to reach out to potential investors while you're still pitching yourself as a residential firm? Like, how do you reach those clients?
How are you pitching yourself to stay active residential but add on STR?
I almost treat it like a different business in a way. You can have it under, like, I have an umbrella company, and then I have the coaching business under it and the residential business under it, although I would recommend if it gets large enough to split them, but 2 sets of books, but reaching out, it's almost like we offer this other service, but what I'd recommend is offer one alternative service at a time. You still want to be that expert, right? Pick one little shiny penny, right? SEO would be great, but it's about showing your expertise, right, in your marketing, and just like Jessica has like really moved more into STR instead of those of us who really need our residential business to continue to flourish while we're creating the other one. That's what I concentrate on in teaching too.
I will say that having done the data on SEMrush for what the SEO is for these types of markets, there is not a lot of historical traffic searching for Airbnb interior designers. Where you're going to find these people are on visual platforms. So you're on Instagram and you're on Pinterest, because Pinterest pins last forever. Like, don't do TikTok. And then you are reaching out to people directly. You're talking to property managers. You're talking to real estate investors. You're at real estate conferences, or you're at your local TREA, or whatever it is. And you're connecting with people directly, because a lot of people don't know that they need this service. And if you come in talking about it with numbers or ways that you can improve their process, because they have to source everything and they hate it, and then you do that for them and then it helps. I think that just like putting it out there, however you're choosing to put it out there, is the best way to do it. SEO is good, but it's not great.
The only thing I would add to that is that we also target housekeeping companies. Because if your owner or investor loves their housekeeper, they listen to everything they say. What? LinkedIn. Oh my God, that's a whole nother thing.
Yes.
LinkedIn is the reason why we have a project in Carmel, California. He found us on LinkedIn. I wish we could go on and on. Did you guys find this helpful? Did we give you a lot of information? Thank you for being here. I could do this all day. Okay, so you know about our amazing people, Traci, Emily. You can find us. You have flyers, things on your chairs. We're doing a webinar, a free webinar soon.
Yeah, Tuesday, May 20th, 2 hours. We're going through workflow. Remember I said the wheels fall off? We don't want the wheels to fall off anymore. When do you do what in your process of design? And we're doing a module on STR as well. So join us. It'll be fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.